Good morning, and thank you for coming. We're pretty excited about this because we've been working on this project for several years, and it was really time to come and start talking to you about it. So it's a cute title, but really what we're trying to do is use AI to make automated transcription of cursive documents in Jewish languages, where Jewish languages obviously are, at least at this point, we're working on Russian, Yiddish, and Polish, and we have plans to work on other Jewish languages beyond that. So next slide. Oh, I guess you're supposed to do it.
Okay. All right. I didn't realize we started.
Okay, so I'm going to give an overview of Lador Vador projects, and then we'll see what's next. Okay. So in general, Lador Vador its mission is to advance ancestral discovery for anyone with an interest in Jewish family history and heritage. And we're specifically call ourselves the AI Lab Transkribus project. And our goal is to automate transcription of cursive documents in Jewish languages. We have about 5 years of experience with Jan is really the repository of the experience. Yiddish 2 years, but we've been working on Polish previous to Yiddish, and we're working on Russian as well. We're a small team. It's actually difficult to find people who are fluent in Yiddish and who also work with computers and aren't intimidated by what we have to do to create the ground truth that Jan's going to talk about for the AI system. We know Yiddish, Hebrew, and Polish between us, and we read Russian. We've had background in AI and machine learning and in Jewish genealogy. But something we discovered is that you have to be patient, you have to have attention to detail, and you have to understand the payoff. So we're all really dedicated to the idea that what we've been doing here is going to allow you to run our model over your Yiddish documents and do something that is useful for you. Next slide. Okay, so this is the team. I'm Hattie Bledger, or Hattie Rubenstein Bledger, and my background is linguistics, AI, and NLP, especially NLP. And Jan is really our lead for Transkribus, and any problems or questions you have about Transkribus, it's him. Edna's a native speaker of Yiddish, but she has a background in machine learning and worked in IBM research as a mathematician for her whole career. So we're kind of a unique species here up here. And then Alex lives in Melbourne, Australia. So our team has funny hours. We have funny Zoom hours. And he's a radio host with a radio program on Yiddish. He's also a native speaker of Yiddish who was born and raised for a lot of his life in Poland. So we have our goal. It's very simple: create a system to convert handwritten text into machine-readable form. And why would we do this? I think everybody in the audience knows there's millions of pages. I actually wasn't sure till I started the project, but there are millions, literally millions of pages of handwritten Yiddish, lots of letters, pinkasim, community records that nobody can read anymore, memoirs that are handwritten, Holocaust memoirs, plays, and there's a dwindling number of Yiddish speakers. So what we want to do is be able to put all of those things through some kind of a tool that allows you to then take it and put it into, let's say, ChatGPT to translate it, or there's many Google Translate. So there's lots of programs that translate. They don't do so well on handwritten Yiddish and a lot of the other handwritten languages. So that's basically our goal. So our priority was to improve the results for a wide variety of handwritten Yiddish as quickly as possible. And what that meant was we knew from the beginning if we spent all our time worrying about getting the diacritics right, getting Latin script in the middle of the Yiddish right, getting Roman numerals, getting signatures, that would be kind of a waste of our time. So we wanted to get something that was a good model that got good results as quickly as possible, and we wanted to work over a wide variety of Yiddish dialects, topics, and hands. So Jan told us and taught us that you need to work on a lot of different hands. You know, if you only work on a couple of hands and go, oh, I got a good result, that's not going to do very good for you. So we postponed hard to read aerograms, bleed through, and we postponed it for a while structured data. So there's structured and unstructured data in our input. And as for the rest of this, Jan is going to talk about what tool we used and how we built our models and how we got our output. Edna's going to talk about the challenges of working with Yiddish, some of which are specific to Yiddish. And then I'm going to talk about lessons learned, next steps. We welcome offline discussions. 45 minutes is not going to be enough to go through what we've done, and we kind of made this pretty concise. And then also, if somebody wants to join our team, that would be really, really wonderful. And I'll tell you at the end what you need to know. And we also welcome people who want to consult with us. So at this point, we have some people who have large memoirs or other kinds of documents in handwritten Yiddish, and they consult with us and use our models, and we help them adapt it to their own work.
All right, so here comes my, oh, I'm sorry. I think I can do the clicker
Okay, you
since
click.
I'm looking at the thing. So, okay, I'm Jan Gronsky, and closer to the mic. All right, okay. How about now? Better? All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, the first thing that comes to mind is why Transkribus? There are so many different artificial intelligences, and I know that people have tried to put in, different documents to get them transcribed and translated. And let me make right up front a distinction between transcription and translation, because transcription is essentially from handwritten Yiddish, or any language, into computer digestible form, print form if you wish. Now, I have also experimented with many of these, and I'm not going to go and diss any of these tools because they are really useful and they are improving by the day. But let me just put a word of caution here. Sometimes you will get results which look very good, but in fact, you really have to know what is supposed to be in there, or else you may get fooled. So be careful. We have plenty of examples of that, and I have ran into a situation where, for example, a name like, I don't know, Kovalyov, let's say, got in Russian transcription, got transcribed as Gromyko, who was the foreign minister in Soviet Union. So just be careful. Next. All right, so the reason we chose Transkribus is because essentially it is an honest AI, if you wish. It tries its best. Sometimes it will not get things right, but it will render it the way it sees it. So sort of like a human being, sometimes we look at things and we're not sure exactly what is written because handwriting is difficult, sometimes difficult to read. Okay? Transkribus was set up by at the University of Innsbruck, and it was funded initially by European Union. Now it is a non-profit organization under a place that is called Read Co-op. Okay? Now, let me just talk a little bit about the workflow. What do? First of all, we get the documents that we're interested in. We then have to upload them, of course, to Transkribus. And then, at first, it is a pretty harrowing type of experience because you have to transcribe everything that is on the handwritten page to the best of your ability, okay? And once you get it to the level that you like it, you then call it ground truth. Now, you have to do that for about 25, 30 scanned pages, depending on the density of handwriting, okay? And then you create an intermediate, something which we call the language model, which sits within the artificial intelligence. And you apply that to the subsequent scans, okay? And you get some output, which then has to be corrected. You don't have to go letter by letter, word by word, and correct it. And then you process another 10, 20, and you build a better model, and so on and so forth. We call it bootstrapping, okay? So now let's see. One thing to say, we have this because of the diversity of materials and in their form and content, we divided them essentially into two groups. The first one was the 19th century metrical data or civil records data from Russian Empire. Why Russian? What does it have to do with Yiddish? Well, it turns out that those books were written in both Russian and Yiddish/Hebrew. So one page is in Russian and one page is, the other page is in Yiddish. And actually this became very, very handy to us because on occasions, not me, but Edna and Alex and Hattie, they couldn't figure out what was going on the Yiddish side, so we would look up in the Russian side, and I can read that very well. Now, on the other hand, the two sides don't necessarily match, okay? So you have to be careful a little bit with that. They don't contain exactly the same information. All right, now, let's see. What else to be said there? Okay, so then the other thing is eventually, after several iterations, we get to a level where the model is pretty good. But how do we define good? Okay, so there is something, a measure, which we use often, which is called character error rate. Essentially, you can think about it, if you have on the page, say, 1,000 letters, okay, how many of them are errored? And the ratio is a character error rate, okay? Now, that is, so when you look at the model that you will see on Transkribus, by the way, it's Transkribus, not Transkribus, you evaluate the model in two dimensions. One, it should have as low a CER as possible, and the other one is how many words does the model represent? How many words was it trained on? So those two things are important to consider. All right, the way the thing works, the system, we divide the materials that we have into two parts. One is called the training set, and the other one is validation set. So for validation in all of them, in training and validation set, we have ground truth. In other words, quote unquote, perfect transliteration or transcription of the material. Okay, and the system AI uses the training set to learn. Okay, and then then it tests itself on the validation set, which is not being used for training. Okay, then it turns around, says, oh, okay, I failed in these places, and tries another iteration. And eventually, the error rate in the model drops down, and at some point, the model training stops. Okay? Now, here is an example of something that we had to deal with. As you can see, this one is what we call a structured data document, because it's a table, okay, essentially containing both Yiddish and Russian, okay. As you see, it's not perfect. We've seen worse, actually, than that. Much worse than that, but even that might cause a problem. It turns out that sometimes artificial intelligence can read better than what we can do with our eye, because especially on faded text, in bleed-throughs, it does a better job than we do. All right, now here comes an interesting thing. So you have, we've been keeping records of how we are progressing, and I guess I started talking about how we divided the materials. One was into metrical data, 19th century, and the other one with non-metrical data, essentially things like letters, reports, community records, stuff like that. And here you can see two different lines. The blue line, which is steadily going up almost, represents the number of words that we have processed or used to train the system. Okay, you can see something interesting here. You can see those dips there. that represents my errors, okay? At some point, as we were processing, I skipped some of the previously used material and the thing dropped down, okay? So it should be going straight up, but it's not, okay? Now you also see, okay, let me see, let's look, so the red line, on the other hand, shows the corresponding character error rate, and as you can see, first it dropped very sharply and then steadily going down. Our target really is to get CER under 7%, because at that point, a native speaker can easily get over the mistakes the machine translation has done. That's not a problem. Now, I wanted to show you something interesting here. Notice aside of this dips in the blue line, we have also a very pronounced upwards with the CER. What happens here, this is on the non-metrical data, is once you start introducing new materials, new handwritings, then suddenly the machine has to learn new stuff. So our CER would start going up and then steadily go down. So when you see CER going up, that means we introduce new handwriting, new materials, etc. Then we have something which is the combination of both of them. And here what I wanted to say, interestingly enough, even though the metrical data has only a corpus of 40,000 words and the non-metrical of about 100,000, metrical data has helped us a lot in deciphering non-metrical stuff, because of the metrical data contains a lot of names, and and names are very difficult, especially the surnames are particularly difficult for the artificial intelligence. Okay, so here is an example of something which we have done. You can see here a letter that was written to JDC in Warsaw. This is from years 1939 to 1941. JDC operated in Warsaw under German occupation until the war with Soviet Union started. And here you can see on this, the red marks indicate errors that the machine did, and the green marks is what it should have been. So as you can see, as you can imagine, I am sure that it's difficult to read here, but if you know Yiddish, you can read it, then I'm sure that you could get over those mistakes pretty easily. Here is a similar slide, which this is about the metrical data. As you can see, we can get reasonably good results here. Okay, things to consider. Okay, so first of all, ground truth is not necessarily absolute truth, because we human beings make mistakes. Okay, so sometimes the machine is right and we're wrong anyway. The other thing to say is that how shall I say? Yeah, the CER is an important measure, but also we have to consider the fact that it is not necessarily the only measure. I mentioned the words, but also the fact that you can read it. If you can read it, that's probably the final test. If you can read it, that's good enough, right? That is the big thing. Now, okay, so I just wanted to mention here something special. So we worked with researchers at Hebrew University who had a very large pinkas document from the city of Brody. And it was a huge document, as you will see in a moment. This was written by one person, and one handwriting, very quickly. Okay, now if you look at the previous graphs, you will see that it took us over 2 years to get to the point where we were. Now, Mr. Eliasaf, on the other hand, managed to get it down to under 5%, okay, within 6 months. But he worked at it really carefully, and he only did about 6 iterations, okay? As you can see, the corpus is very big, had 180,000 words, okay, and 165 pages. So if you have a document that was written by one person, a large document, then you can very quickly train the model to do excellent job, really excellent job. All right, so this is an example. It's a beautiful document, the handwriting, as you can see, right? I cannot read it, but I really enjoy the art of it. All right, I think I'll hand over now to Edna to talk a little bit about the problems that we've had.
She's got a microphone.
Oh, you've got the microphone there? Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, and this needs to go over to Edna.
Okay, all right.
Just put it,
Close to the microphone. Close to where you're talking.
okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, this part of the talk is challenges and issues with handwritten Yiddish. Challenges and issues is a fancy way of saying I get to kvetch about. So I'm talking to, okay.
Yeah, you have to bring it closer, I think.
Wow, okay. So basically, this is where I get to kvetch about how hard and frustrating it is to look at handwritten Yiddish and make sense of it. Also, as you can see, there are pictures throughout. I just wanted to let you know that this is somebody named Shlomo Rabinovich, also known as Shalom Aleichem. And on the other side is
Mendel Mocha.
his real name was Shalom Abramovich, and he is Mendel Moicher Sfarim, which in Hebrew means Mendel of the book peddler. And you can see these were the grandfathers, really, of modern Yiddish literature. They both started in writing in Hebrew until they realized there was a much bigger market if you moved over to Yiddish. And you can see Mendele standing on two pillars. One says Yiddish, and the other says Hebraish, which is Hebrew written in Yiddish. Next.
I think I moved it.
Oh, you have moved it. Okay.
Here, maybe you look at this.
I see. Okay, so I just like Jan kind of was making a distinction between transcription and translation, because of the kind of work I did here, I just want to emphasize this project is not about transcribing Yiddish handwritten letters. It's about teaching a machine to transcribe handwritten Yiddish letters. So you could have come to me a few years ago and said, could you please translate or transcribe this Yiddish letter for me, and I would do it. The point of this is now I don't have to do it. I can say, go to Transkribus, sign up, and you can use our model, and you can do as many as you want yourself. So we had to decide what kinds of documents we should get. We started with family documents, some from our own family. As Jan said before, we wanted to get, and this may be a dirty word these days, a diverse set of documents. Diverse in handwriting, diverse in geographically, and also in the education level of the writer. So some of these family letters, for example, I won't say which member of the panel, but had female letter writers that were not very educated people, and some of the letters were kind of comical, but it's good to have that kind of thing in there. They wrote it almost in a Cockney version of Yiddish. So they left out H's at the beginning of words. Anyway, another great source was from relief societies. We started with a town called Grajewo, which is near East Prussia and kind of the northeast of Poland. And those turned out to be very useful because they were just from individuals who had grown up in Grajewo and were living all over the world. And they were just individuals. They weren't ever really important people in Grajewo. They just needed some help. But to get a really large body of letters, we went to the JDC, the Joint Distribution Committee. And as Jan mentioned, we had about 200 documents or letters to the JDC in Warsaw from really all over Poland. But these tended to be more educated kind of people writing. It was usually the head of the Judenrat or the head of the Kahila, etc., who was writing for help. And then after about a few months or weeks, we decided to add the metrical data from the Russian Empire. So why did we decide to do that? Jan has already changed.
I moved it, yes.
Already moved it. First of all, we thought it could just be plain useful. There are people working on the Russian half of the page, the Cyrillic, and we thought it might also be useful to transcribe and teach a machine to transcribe the other side, the side that's mixed Hebrew, Hebrew Yiddish. And also, we hypothesized, especially Hattie, she's a linguist, that knowing a lot of names, how to transcribe a lot of names, would just help the general model. And Jan didn't show this chart, but when we just took the metrical data, we got an excellent model. Then when we took the non-metrical data, which was prose, letters, etc., we got a model that wasn't as good. But when we put them all together, we got a pretty good model. So that kind of meant that the names in the metrical data were helping the general model. So it was a good thing that we decided to use that. Okay, next. The main issue with handwritten Yiddish and really machine-readable Yiddish is the lack of standardization. There was no standardization of the Yiddish language until about 1927, when YIVO came along and did it. However, after that, nobody really paid any attention to it. So, somebody's relative writing to her sister or cousin overseas, just wrote Yiddish. She didn't say, let me look up the correct form in YIVO. So that is definitely an issue. There's a lot of local languages that Yiddish comes from, and there are a lot of words in local languages that have found themselves a place in Yiddish, but not, if you're Hungarian and you're reading a letter from Poland, there's some words you're just not going to know because they're not Yiddish, they're Polish. And then the special thing that Yiddish has is that it's a right to left language, which is more Transkribus's problem than ours, but it gave us plenty of headaches, and Jan was the one who spoke up, and Transkribus did address a lot of our problems and did make that much easier. Next page. So specifically, these are the kind of challenges that we have. The first is we call letter joining. Hebrew is a language that was never meant to be written with letters joined, and the Hebrew alphabet doesn't have any built-in way to join letters. So everyone who wrote in Yiddish just joined the letters any old way they tried. If you just go back for a minute to the slide before where we have the Hebrew alphabet, the printed version, and then the handwritten version. If you take a look, there are two letters that take two strokes to do them. The aleph, and then on the left-hand side, about 4 lines down, there's the kuf, which takes 2 strokes. Now, if you're the kind of person that wants to connect everything, every kuf that you're going to make is going to look like the letter 2 rows above it, a final chaf. And so very often letters end with a kuf, and you don't know whether it's supposed to be a kuf or a final chaf. And the aleph, people have so many ways of connecting the 2 parts of that letter, the little thing that looks like a C followed by a vertical line. You can almost recognize somebody's handwriting by the way he writes his alephs. There seem to be as many ways of writing an aleph as there are Yiddish writers. The 2 other problems that we've come up with as these the fe, a fe or a pay, the F or P sound, when it occurs at the end of a letter, if you could point to that, Hattie.
Well, I think if I point, he can't go forward or backwards.
Oh, okay. Well, the fe is down on the fourth line, and there are really three of them. The third one is
Give me her pointer, then I'll use that.
is a final pay, which means at the end of a word it just looks different, and that's how it looks. And the tzaddik has the same issue. And the fe and tzaddik are often confused with each other in writing. And that fe there is not, that fe sofit, the final fe, is not even the one I learned in the 1950s in the Chabad school. It looked completely different. Then when I got to the metrical books, going back that far, there was a totally different way of writing it. So go forward again. We call those idiosyncratic letters. And another problem that we have is a yud and a vav. They're just two vertical lines, one small, one medium size. And one writer's small and medium size is not another writer's, and then it's some writers, the same writer you see, and there's just no consistency. So, if you're the kind of person who gets triggered by awful penmanship, close your eyes now. 'Cause
Do you
there
want,
may
you want to
be-
hand me your pointer and I'll try to use your pointer?
I put it back. Oh, no, I don't have it.
Okay, no worries.
Don't worry. Okay, so we have some pictures of writing. These are from metrical books. The first line says, it's the name of the baby's father in a birth record, Hirsch ben Yaakov. Hirsch looks fine, Ben looks fine, but Yaakov, this writer, felt like he had to connect his ayin to the kuf that follows it. He didn't really feel like making a kuf with like a little head on top of it, so he just, and then he felt like adding a flourish at the end. So, and then another thing, look at the word Hirsch, and in the last line there's another shin, which is the maternal grandfather of this baby. His name is Moshe, which has the shin in middle. Now look, this is the exact same writer. Look at the two different shins that he's using. This grandpa's last name, and this is something I have more examples of, is Hochman. All these names like Hochman, Weinberg, whatever, are written as two names, written as if they were two words. So the first word is Hoch, where he connects the second half of the aleph with the next letter, which is supposed to be a final chaf, but it looks exactly like the kuf. So, and then the second part of the last name is Man. Now, if that mem could easily be in most handwritings either a dalet or a zayin, or some people write a gimel that way. So you really have to know what Yiddish surnames are like, and you know they frequently end in man. And another thing, look at that man, the mem there, and look at the mem in Moshe, the word right before it. The mem in Moshe is a smudge. Mm-hmm. And the same writer writes another mem, which is also problematic in a different way. So even with the same writer, you have problems. This is one of my favorites. I could ask if anyone can read the first line, but I don't know if we have enough time to have a guessing game here. But you could almost think that first word has 6 vavs and yuds in a row. When it's actually, the first two are vavs, the next two are an aleph. So that third thing that looks like a vertical line has a bend in it. So that tells you, it's an aleph. And the fourth vertical line, if you look closely, you could see it's trying to be a lamed. And then the last letter is this fe, so feet issue I was talking about. This is how you find it in metrical books. They write a tzaddik so feet and put single quotes around it. So this father's name was Wolf. And, you know, if you know that Waltz is not a name that Jewish men use, you can read it, you know, if you know enough Yiddish, that it's actually Wolf. And you teach the machine to recognize that those looks like three letters as just the single letter of face of feet. Below it, it says Naphtali. That nun is just the little hook there hanging in the middle of the line. But it actually, according to one book I recently heard about, there are really only 250 core Yiddish names, Yiddish first names. And I think by now our algorithm, our model knows them all. So if he's probably seen Naphtali and other names that begin with a nun many, many times. And I think that really does help our model quite a bit. That his middle name, Naphtali's next given name, is also a common name, but to me it looks like Shrut, but it's actually Yisrael. There's a Yud, a Shin, a Resh, and then the first half of the Aleph, and the second half of the Aleph, he just connects it into like a semi-lamed. That makes it look like a tet, like it's shin, resh, vav, tet, so shrut or something like that. But it's Yisrael. The last one is a woman's name. It starts with Chaya. That's a story, different story that I haven't mentioned yet. But her middle name is Cherna, which means black in Slavic languages, and it is a pretty common girl's name. But look at those two ayins. I mean, they're really very idiosyncratic, I guess. And in Chaya, it looks like it says Chayin, but religiously, they never want to write a yud followed by a hey, because that would be God's name, and you'd be writing it in vain. So I don't know why they put that thing instead of the hey that looks like a final nun. Oh, you believe that's another ayin?
No, that's a vav. It's just a very weird vav. Yeah, it's not.
You'd make it an ayin in Yiddish? Well, we have a lot of names like that. We have Yeshaya, we have Basia, and they all look like exactly like that. So we assumed it was a vav that the writer got a little carried away and made it extra long or something, but
It looks so much like the other eye.
you're right. I never thought of it.
Let's go on anyway.
Okay,
We're going to run out of time if we stop every minute.
okay, there's just one more slide, and this one,
Right, and I have more.
this one, for me, I meant, this one addresses the subject of splitting last names into two words. And there are three examples. The first example, if you look on the third line on the page, it's Manish Barnbaum, which means pear tree, Barenboim, Barenbaum. They write it as two words, Baron and Baum. The next one is a name that actually is in Bader's book, but I've never heard of it before. It's on the second line of that little screenshot. It's Sternschuss, which means shooting star. You know somebody by that name? Very good. Shooting star. That's
Yes,
a last name. And the last example I have is the last line of the page. The person's last name is Felentile, which means hide splitter. Felon means hide in Yiddish, and tile means to partition something or to split it. And it's written as two words, and it is all over these 19th century, and some of these are pretty early 19th century documents, you find surnames written that way. I think that's it for my fetching. I'm finished. And
So I'm going to talk about lessons learned pretty quickly, next steps, and give you time for Q&A. So basically, for now, our conclusion is Transkribus is the best tool. Would you hand me Sarah's?
you're right. Where did it?
It's over by your, yeah,
This.
thanks. Yes, I just remembered. Okay. So for now, our conclusion is that Transkribus is the best tool for handwritten Yiddish. And nicely, my cousin Hank Mishkoff, who helped us get the Grayevo Relief Society letters, said, would it be okay if we took your output, your machine-readable transcription, and we stuck it through ChatGPT and we put it up on our website for people? And he did that, and then Edna and Alex eyeballed it and said, yeah, that's not a bad translation. And so basically, I think that using Transkribus the way we do to get you a good machine-readable Yiddish output that then can be put into a ChatGPT or Google Translate is the way that I would go. Now, in the future, we don't know what's going to happen. You know, there may be something that can both transcribe well and also translate well. But for now, this we recommend. Nicely, we think we've proved that the metrical having the metrical model and then using it with the other model combined improves the combined model. And I know I worked on this for like 30 years, so I do know that names are really hard for translation, automated translation systems. Maybe they're better now, but names are very important, and it's important to get names correct with a good model. Our Yiddish models are very good now. They're equivalent to our Polish models, so that was our goal at the beginning. What we feel is if you have 100,000 plus words, diverse topics, and a diverse set of hands, and a CER, a character error rate under 7%, you're going to have an effective model that's usable. It's important to train on a large variety of handwriting and document types, and especially for 19th century Yiddish because of the lack of standardization and the way it was spread out geographically, and maybe people were not educated in it. But our model's also suitable for people who have a single handwritten memoir or play or even letters if you have a lot of letters. So if you have a memoir and it's 30, 50, 100, 200, 250 pages, you can consult with us, use our model, and then further adapt the model to your data. So that's something that we are doing and we recommend. So our next steps, we're going to improve the 3 Yiddish models. We're going to keep working. I want to do a whole more geographically diverse metrical models. We're going to probably go back to some of the YIVO Lithuanian community minutes and use those. And as of today, there it is up there. I already spoofed myself. As of today, we're announcing that our models will be publicly available via Transkribus. They are already publicly available. Yeah. Yeah. We had to get them good enough to be able to, other than a few people we consult with, to let you use them. And we're going to tell you on the next page how you can access them on Transkribus. Jan has already run one workshop with what is now Global, what used to be Santa Cruz JGS, and he's planning to run some more workshops in the fall. Again, we'll show you how you can find out when the workshops will be, and I think we'll probably record them and put them on like a YouTube channel or something like that so that people can use them. You're welcome to talk to us offline. We'd love you to join the team. I know German and Hebrew, and my Yiddish is pretty weak, but I am able to work on the metrical books. So if you know Hebrew and you're open-minded about Yiddish, you could probably work on the metrical books with Edna and I. If you want to work on the non-metrical and help us, you actually have to know Yiddish quite well, I found out. And then if you have one-hand written documents that you would like to consult with us on, we'd welcome you. So the next slide is how to access the public models. And we gave you 2 ways. How to sign up on the Lador Vador mailing list so that you can have news about either the progress of the models as we make more progress or about workshops. Jan's email, so you can get hold of any of us. And we actually have another team member, Henry Nussbaum, who joined recently, also a native speaker of Yiddish from Austria, and his specialty is
Australia.
Australia, right. His specialty is Bunt, I guess, right?
Yes.
So we have a bunch of people with different kinds of expertise that you could speak with. And Jan obviously can talk to you about the work he's been doing on adapting Transkribus to Russian and to Polish. And he's done Polish, both 19th century and then earlier Polish as well. So I think he has a couple of different models.
A little bit of Arabic.
Oh, you're right, and a little bit of Arabic. And I think in the immediate future, we'll probably try to work on Solitreo, which is the handwritten Ladino. So if anybody knows anybody who knows Solitreo and wants to work with us, please, we would love it. So I kind of have been studying Ladino, but I haven't learned Solitreo yet. So thank you very much for your attention today. This is really important to us. And now we're open to questions. Oh, crap.
Credits.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The question.
So in my family, there's a 70-page memoir about the Holocaust, about this.
Would you mind standing up and talking really loudly?
Sure, I can speak pretty. Is this loud enough?
Yes.
So in my family, there's a 70-page memoir, Holocaust memoir, relating to this small agricultural village in Ukraine. I was wondering, would it be best to create a new model for this document, since it's a lot of handwriting reading by one person, or to use an existing model?
So what we are doing is we use the existing model and you adapt it. So it is a new model that results. Jan, you want to? Yeah.
So what I would do is first run it through one of our standard models. We can advise you which one would be the best. After that, if the results are, not as good as you wanted them to be, then you have to put in a little bit of your own work to create ground truth for this particular writer, because as you know, handwriting varies from one person to another, and maybe this person had some peculiarities that we do not accommodate in our model. But I think you should get a reasonably good start, not like when we had to start from nothing, right? So that's what I would do, and I think that, look, Mr. Eliasov managed to do the stuff also starting from having a head start like that in 6 iterations. It took him, he had a huge corpus of 170,000 words, okay? So I think that's the way I would go.
What town is it?
Oh, it's a small agricultural village called Antonovka near
Oh.
Oh,
Okay.
Volhynia, Gubernia.
Yeah, we have family from those areas. Yeah, go. Black shirt?
I will take the end user view. Before I do that, there's like a sentence of break of things. So from an end user perspective, if I only have 3 letters,
Different.
what do I do?
Okay, so first of all, on Transkribus, I don't think you need to sign up for anything. They have a place there. Now that our models are public, they will be available for anyone to go. They have a little website there. I think it's called transkribus.ai, I believe. And you can simply drop your letter onto a little window there, and it will try to do the transcription. And you have to select the model, of course, our model, one of our models. That would be the easiest way. Okay?
Oh, that's a good idea.
The contact information on the previous slide is not in the handout.
Ah,
I guess I'd recommend you get your pen out and write it down.
sorry.
I'm sorry about that. Put the previous, go back. Yeah. Yeah, and also I need to remind you to do the evaluation. So we have a final slide that says do the evaluation. There we go. Yeah. Sorry, you probably should have printed that out.
There has to be more questions since I took the mic out.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good idea.
Yes, there is a person.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go here.
Oh, hello. I have a loud voice anyways. People know that already.
Then it's not recorded.
Oh, not recorded. Okay, so I've gone into Transkribus, which is a learning process in and of itself for someone like myself. Other people may find it a little bit easier, but it can be learned. I was trying to translate German documents. I use this illustration. There are several models you can choose based on the location, century, and even the type of script that your document has. But what I'm hearing from you is that you're trying to create one model that would account for all Yiddish documents. I understand that maybe splitting it up into different sorts of Yiddish is just too difficult, but man, that must require a lot of processing power to look at each one of those, whatever it's called, pixels that makes up a letter to try to figure out what you're doing. Are you trying to divide it up into different kinds of Yiddish handwriting to create more than one model?
Right now, we have essentially three models, okay? As I mentioned, one is for structured data, essentially tables, if you wish, and specifically those metrical book tables, because talking about tables in Transkribus is a completely separate lecture, and we've done it. The second model is just for simple prose, what I call it, paragraph-based system, not structured, okay? And then we have the combined one. So depending on the type of document that you have, you could use that. But we do not have really division into dialects and locales like that. We try to create one overarching Yiddish model. Let me just point out another thing. Transkribus has done things like that, not just for one language, but for they have models that combine things like English, German, Dutch, several languages all together. So I think what we're doing is probably the right direction. There's only so many of us, so we cannot really do everything.
Yeah, I think also, so let's say we start looking at 17th or 16th century pinkasim. It could be, in that case, that we would have to really adapt our model, and it would have to be Hebrew/Yiddish. So when I look at pinkasim, earlier pinkasim, they seem to have a ton of Hebrew versus Yiddish, and it could be that we would have to have something different. But for what Jan did for Polish, he did 19th century, and then he saw 18th century was kind of different, and he did a different model based on the 19th century model, but adapted it to 18th century. It's not like German where you have a lot of different scripts. That's really not the case, and it could be for going back to even earlier Hebrew. But for right now, for what we're talking about, which is 19th century and early 20th century, I think this obviously will work.
Let me add on the Polish thing. So indeed, we have have a 19th century and older, okay, two different models. But also, we created an umbrella model which combines both of them. So essentially, we're all trying, it is like training voice. Initially, if you remember, you got your phone, you had to train a phone to your particular voice, right? And now you have universal thing. It works, it doesn't work 100%, but works probably in 80 to 90% range, right? So that's, I think, where we should be going.
Sarah?
I'm sorry,
Microphone?
I had the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, so kind of a question and observation. So earlier this summer, I was in a workshop with a group of scholars who are working on reading handwritten transcriptions in early modern Hebrew books. And that was incredibly useful because we had scholars there who were like, this is what this aleph looks like, and this is what this aleph looks like, especially as you go into working on Ladino, where even in the early modern period, Ashkenazic Ashkenazi Hebrew speakers were looking at Hebrew hands by Mizrahi and Sephardi writers and going, I have no idea what this says. I need you to come read this Hebrew for me. It was really eye-opening to see the range of the way that different people wrote those specific letters. So, I mean, one of my questions is, when you looked, how wide, and was there a sort of geographic difference between how different Yiddish writers wrote specific letters, or was that not a big enough sort of sample in the 19th century?
Yeah, so there's someone we're going to be consulting with who has, I think, a memoir, and he came in, and the Lamed was a Lamed we'd never seen before. So that's why I said for metrical books, we're definitely going to try to go to new geographic areas. There's just a lot of it's both idiosyncratic and it may also be geographical by where people were trained. We don't really know the answer yet, and unfortunately, none of the three of us are Yiddish scholars.
Yeah, Jan, I had a will of my fifth great grandfather. Okay. I was able to obtain the will of my fifth great grandfather, which was really, I guess, the early 19th century. And it was written first in Polish and then I don't know what the other language was. There were Yiddish words, there were Hebrew words. They just seemed to follow each other. And Jan had no trouble with the Polish, but the Yiddish, nobody I know can read it. It has so many transitions from Hebrew to Yiddish, plus different letters that don't match the letters we know today. So if you want to use our model for anything before the 19th century, I don't think it'll work very well. But I don't think many people have Yiddish documents. Yeah.
First, two-part question. First, when we go into Transkribus from Lador Vador, do we select the model we think is correct, or or is it machine selected by AI?
No. So if you go to if you go to Transkribus in general,
Yeah.
to this free section that I mentioned, transkribus.ai, you will have a drop-down menu.
Right.
Okay? And you select from that a model that you like, German or French or Yiddish in this case.
Okay, but if I know it's Yiddish, it's a non-metrical document. My Zadie wrote a history of his family going back to his
Yes.
grandparents and included a paragraph about everybody and included family. That was what got me started. I got an English translation that my uncle had done, and I kept on asking, where is the original Yiddish? And nobody knew. We decided that perhaps he had dictated it. Mm-hmm. Then, because of that, I wrote cousins, and somebody said this cousin may have it. It was a different version, written 2 years later. His Yiddish handwriting, A, is terrible. B, I have grandsons in the Froom community who speak Yiddish, and everybody I've shown it to, except for one Chabad rabbi, could not read any of it. So I would like to put it in Transkribus and go from there.
So, because we have published all three of our models, you will see a selection of 3 Yiddish models over there. We chose kind of names for them. One of them is letter reader, right?
Okay.
And the other one is, what was it?
Mama Lucia?
No, that's the last one. The next one is records reader or something like this. And the last one, the combined one, is called Mameloshen.
Mama lotion?
Mameloshen,
Yeah, okay.
because I like that name, that's all. And so in your case, I would try either the letter reader or Mameloshen.
And
Thank you.
We'd be interested in seeing the results.
Right, right.
Yeah, we're happy to consult, not with 100 or 200 people, but, you know, with a
It's
small group of people.
it's 14 pages. It's not terribly long.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Well, they like you to use the mic because it gets recorded.
When you first talked about the number of words that was in a document that you were using, I didn't understand if you meant that there was a space between words or you're actually matching up the characters with a vocabulary that you already have. And so if you read some characters and it doesn't fit into your, what do we call it, lexicon or your list of words, then it's not a word, it's garbage.
No, no. Actually, we're counting anything which is delimited by spaces.
But the logic of the model is like these letters, does it account for the fact that these letters could never go together?
So the model has an internal lexicon that it collects while training, okay? So, because it gets it from the ground truth, right? So it tries the best to match whatever is in the text with what it has in its lexicon, okay? Now, sometimes make mistakes. This is only a probabilistic type of a thing, but it'll give it the best shot at it. Okay?
Could you please clarify the difference between Transkribus and Transkribus.ai?
Oh, both of them are, okay, Transkribus.org is essentially a place where we go and you have full capability. You have to set up your account and you have access to all kind of tools. You can do training your own model and stuff like, and access, of course, you also have access to all these existing models, right? Either your own, because they have private models and public models. On Transkribus.ai, you'll see only public models, okay? And essentially, you don't have any capabilities. They're short of, I drop my document on top of it, you'll get an output. That's it, pretty much. Okay?
And it would be easy in Transkribus.ai to select your model?
Well, there will be a drop-down menu that will give you by language what's available. I assume we just published it, and I got a message that it's available, so I assume it's there.
There's a model called Dibbuk. Is that public yet?
That's not public. But there is another model which is called Digest, which is not a handwritten. It's for printed Hebrew primarily, but I think you could use it for Yiddish as well.
So thank you, and remember to do the evaluation so Dan doesn't get mad.
All right.
Awesome. You both did a great job.
Oh, thank
Edna,
you.
yours was just
Yes, it
superb
was
this time.
very nice.